Hi, I'm Becky Davis with City TV. Welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. State Street, the heart of downtown, where residents and visitors alike come to walk, shop, and dine. In our first segment, learn what the city is doing to enhance public safety in this vital area and create a more enjoyable downtown experience.
The city is increasing public safety patrols on State Street. Our main goal is to have a more visible public safety presence, to improve the overall downtown experience, deter nuisance issues, and enforce the city's new smoking ban.
And just to let you know, we have a no smoking ordinance in Santa Barbara.
Paid for by a state grant, additional police and ambassadors will be patrolling the downtown area to create a safe experience for residents and visitors.
The grant has allowed us to bring officers in on overtime and put them specifically downtown, for 20 additional hours a week. So we're getting that increased presence downtown, and it really has allowed us to keep those officers downtown without having to pull them off for other projects or problems.
No problem. We just want to make sure everything's okay.
There are lots of issues that people don't agree on, but this one I think everyone agrees is a great thing, partly because it's not coming out of the general fund. It's money that the city was able to get through a grant, and so that frees up other money to do other things. And I think everyone just appreciates the presence, the tone of the people that they've put in place is really nice. It's, they're not aggressive, they're available, and I think it makes a big difference to have just someone available to kind of be the eyes and ears in case there is a problem and just keep the problems from happening.
Cool. You guys are aware of all the services available to you and all that stuff? Okay, cool. All right. You guys have a good day, okay?
The goal of the increased presence is to help curb nuisance issues such as public alcohol consumption, smoking, loitering, and other illegal activities that pose a significant concern for businesses and residents.
Those officers will be just enforcing everything and tracking their citations for smoking and their warnings for smoking. But they'll be downtown to enforce all laws and work in that capacity.
Most of the issues that we deal with are calls for service where people are disturbing the peace. We also run into people that are drinking alcohol, smoking, and may have some mental health issues. So we try to address those either by enforcement, issuing warnings, or we will call CARES, a mental health assessment team, to come out and evaluate them.
In addition to the sworn officers patrolling downtown, the grant will also fund twice the amount of ambassadors that currently exist and for extended hours into the evening.
Red Shirt ambassadors are now patrolling State Street in the downtown area 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're hiring people who are good problem solvers and who have excellent customer service skills. They liaison with the police department so police officers can quickly resolve enforcement issues. Ambassadors are knowledgeable of social services. They'll work with the police department and social service providers to help transition people off the street.
Since this new funding started, the increased public safety presence has already seen results, as well as positive feedback from the business community.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm just saying hi.
The business owners are happy that we're downtown, and I also noticed that the public's happy. They come up and talk to us and tell us thank you that we're out there, either on bicycles or on foot patrol.
We've noticed a big difference in the response rate. I think the ambassadors and the volunteers and the other people, some under the PD and some under the city, are here, and so we aren't having to call as often, and it is preventing problems more than making them go away. So I think just the presence, we always love to see the officers downtown, so a combination of that through the evening hours when guests are walking out to go to dinner, or coming back from wine tasting, really makes a big difference.
To learn more about the public safety presence downtown, visit santabarbaraca.gov/downtown and click on Downtown Information. Have you ever looked at your water meter and wondered what all those numbers are for? Do you even know where your water meter is? Up next, answers to those questions and instructions on how to use this simple device as a tool to save you water and money.
Hi, I'm Kathy Perret with the City of Santa Barbara's Water Conservation Program. Today we're going to learn to read our meter and use it as a tool to determine water usage. The first step is to locate where's the meter. It's in that box between the street and the sidewalk or up to your house. There's a cover on the top of it, and you're going to want to use a tool, perhaps a screwdriver, to lift the lid up and off. So now that we have the meter out here, we're going to need to lift the lid. Usually I bring a little rag. I clean off the surface so I can see these numbers, all the 8 digits there, and I can see that blue snowflake. The blue snowflake is your flow indicator. If it's moving, there's water running through from the street into your house. But let's start off with how to read it. The first 4 numbers that are white, those are your 100 cubic feet, or your billing units. Each one of those is 748 gallons. And the way we count them is the next 2 black digits, this one says 56. When that 56 goes to 57, that's 1 cubic foot or 7.48 gallons. You actually have to make this go all the way to 99 before it changes to the next number until it changes to 188 before you're billed. It's kind of like filling a bucket of water. Your bucket has to be completely full before that billing unit changes. But we can use these black digits that are in smaller units in order to calculate how much water we're using, say when we're watering our flowers out front. The other thing you see on here is this blue snowflake. The blue snowflake will let you know if there is any water at all going between the street and your house. If nothing's on inside, no irrigation's on, and that blue cog or snowflake is turning even so slowly, you have something dripping or leaking somewhere. And then it's time to put on your Sherlock Holmes hat and do some investigation. So we're going to use the meter to show us what it looks like when there's a leak. If you see the little blue snowflake now, it's moving very slowly. There's a small amount of water running through this meter. Can you turn it up a little bit? Thank you. Notice that is moving much, much faster. It's a larger volume of water, and you can see the numbers changing as well. Every time this number from the 120, when it gets to 30, that's 3/4 of a gallon. And once this goes all the way around to 9, this 57 cubic feet is going to change to 58, and that means you've used 7.48 gallons. Let's turn the water off now, and we're going to do an actual measurement of watering. So the first step in calculating how much water you're using is to write the number. Just write the whole thing down, or take a picture with your cell phone. I'm old school, 187.57. And then the last 2 digits where you see that little dot says at this point it is at 55. All right, so we're going to turn it on. Going to water for a minute, and then we're going to write the number down when we've completed that. All right, the number is 58.88. All right, you can stop. So these are my billing units. They didn't change, but the cubic feet we used 1 cubic foot, 0.33. So if each cubic foot is equal to 7.48 gallons, we know right off the bat that we already used 7.5 gallons, and then another third. I'd have to pull my calculator out to do the math specifically, but that's about 9 gallons per minute. If you're watering for 10 minutes, that's 90 gallons. There are other parts of the meter that are just as important as the numbers. There are shut-off valves in your box. You'll notice one on your side. That's your shutoff. If something's leaking and you need to turn the water off right away, turn that perpendicular to the pipe that's running into your house, and that will shut the water off. If you don't have one of those, call water dispatch and they'll send someone out to shut it off for you. So when you're done using your meter to either turn the water off or to figure out how much you're using or look for a leak, make sure you close the lid inside. Make sure the hole's not showing here, and if you wouldn't mind, Trim the bushes in the hedge here. Your meter reading staff would appreciate it.
To learn more about how to read your water meter, visit santabarbaraca.gov/meter. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Hug the coast on your way to work. Early morning train service starts April 2nd from Ventura County to Santa Barbara and Goleta. Arrive at work refreshed and ready for the day. Enjoy a hot coffee. Stay relaxed. Free Wi-Fi sound good? It's time to experience a better way to travel. Go to PacificSurfliner.com or contact a traffic solutions specialist to book your tickets and find out more.
Welcome back. If you've walked, driven, or biked around town lately, you've probably come across road maintenance work. Up next, City TV's Cody Long explains the city's annual street maintenance program and why it's so different this year.
Poor road conditions are more than a figurative pain in the neck. They're a literal pain in the wallet. It's estimated that California motorists spend over $18 billion annually in extra vehicle maintenance costs due to poor road conditions. That number has steadily increased over the last decade due to recession-squeezed road maintenance budgets.
There's been years gone by, many years where there just hasn't been enough funding directed towards pavement maintenance. So slowly over the time, our pavement condition index has just degraded, and people are noticing that.
To keep the 245 miles of Santa Barbara's streets in good shape, the city has an annual pavement maintenance program. The program divides the city into 6 zones, with one zone getting most of the work each year.
These zones have been rotating. However, this year city decided to depart from this zoning program and concentrate on streets with high priorities. These are streets with high traffic volumes.
The city is departing from the norm of the past thanks to increased funding. The biggest change started in November of 2017 when city voters passed Measure C. Measure C is a 1-cent increase in the sales tax, the proceeds of which are allocated to improving city infrastructure. Judging from the results, those pennies are adding up.
With Measure C, initially in this first year, we're up to about $12 million for our capital program on pavement maintenance, so 5 to 6 times the amount of money, which is translating to even more than that amount of extra pavement maintenance due to the economy of scale.
SB 1, the increase in the state gas tax, is also boosting transportation projects.
This summer we're going to be repaving Bath Street with SB 1 funding. The SB 1 funding is just starting to kick in and ramp up. Next summer we're actually going to be doing a major project on Mission Street. Over $2 million. It's going to be doing traffic signal repair, street lights, and a lot of pavement maintenance that's really needed on Mission Street. And that project will extend from the 101 interchange all the way out past the old Mission on Los Olivos Street. And we expect that if the gas tax stays in place moving forward, we'll be able to repair a major street every year with gas tax funding in the near future.
In past years, the pavement maintenance program consisted of patching small areas of roads and sidewalks using less costly, more temporary measures like slurry seal or crack sealing. This year, the now supersized city pavement maintenance program is much more in depth.
The construction itself consists of grinding 3 to 5 inches of old asphalt and replacing with new. Some associated work is involved in this in order to do this work. For example, lowering manholes and utilities before grinding and raising them afterwards is part of this project, which is a substantial operation on its own.
Bicycle facilities will also be improved as part of the pavement maintenance program.
We're going to be installing more buffered bike lanes, so it provides the bicyclists a little bit more comfort with being around cars. There's a separation between cars. The cars are not driving as fast around where the bicycles are. So the whole cycling experience is going to be a safer experience with a little bit more room dedicated to cyclists.
And pedestrians of all abilities will also see benefits from the program too.
We're going to be putting in more access ramps, and the design of our access ramps are easier to work with than the designs of the past. And also, just for the regular pedestrians, the sidewalk experience should be a lot smoother.
Residents and businesses located on streets that will be worked on are notified before construction begins so they can make alternative parking arrangements and avoid traffic disruptions.
We put door hangers with the specific dates and information that when exactly the work is going to happen in their neighborhood.
With the financial shot in the arm provided by Measure C and the state gas tax, the city's expanded pavement maintenance program will provide benefits for all modes of transportation, from smoother roads to better bike lanes to greater pedestrian access. Traveling city streets will be a safer, more enjoyable experience going forward.
To learn more and to see where pavement maintenance projects are happening throughout the city, visit santabarbaraca.gov/major projects map. The roads aren't the only transportation infrastructure getting increased attention. Traffic and pedestrian safety projects have also been ramped up. Coming up, we'll drive you around town to show you some.
If you've been traveling downtown streets lately and thinking the traffic signals look brighter, you aren't imagining things. Thanks to a recent upgrade project, the traffic signals are bigger and better than ever.
A lot of the work involved upgrading the traffic signal LEDs from an 8-inch size to 12-inch. The surface area of the lights actually double when you go from 8-inch to 12-inch, so it's a lot more noticeable by drivers, and they're a lot less likely to run red lights. So just in general, we've noticed about a 30% decrease in collisions at a lot of those intersections. So we're already realizing the benefits to that. As part of the project, we also added countdown timers to about 10 intersections where the countdown timers didn't exist at all before. So that's a feature that both drivers and pedestrians really appreciate, knowing how much time they have left to get through the street.
But with much of the traffic signal infrastructure in the city being 50 to 70 years old, there's a need for more than new lights.
One of the things we've been finding with our aging traffic signal infrastructure is the underground conduit that runs under the street, and that holds all the wiring. It's disintegrating. So what the plan is, ahead of the paving projects, we're going to get in, we're going to replace that conduit, rewire the intersections so that they're reliable, and then the paving will come and finish the project off, and it'll look seamless, and it'll be a nice finished product.
Over on the east side, another transportation safety project has just wrapped up, paving the way to better pedestrian access.
This project's really a multimodal project that'll benefit all different users. The initial scope of the project, which included sidewalk infill and pedestrian scale lighting along the east side of Milpas Street, as well as the south side of Calle Puerto Vallarta. There were additional safety measures that were included in the project, such as the pre-signal and the raised median just south of the railroad tracks. We also took this opportunity while we had a contractor mobilized at the site to do some much needed traffic signal maintenance and repair at the 3 intersections near the railroad tracks.
Before the Lower Milpas Pedestrian Improvement Project, traversing the area by foot left you with two less than appealing options.
You really had to choose between crossing the street and taking the west side, or sharing the road with motorized vehicles.
The Lower Milpas project was funded with the Active Transportation Program and matching city funds. But like with the pavement maintenance program, many future projects are in the works thanks to Measure C and the increase in the state gas tax, like the highly anticipated Modoc-Las Positas multi-use path project.
That's a really important connection in Santa Barbara. Las Positas and Modoc are both lacking sidewalk facilities, and cyclists have to bike on the shoulder next to really fast-moving traffic. So that project will provide a safe place for pedestrians and cyclists on Modoc and Las Positas, and that's fully funded by SB1.
And with the greater funding, a long dreamed of connection between the east side and the beach may also become a reality.
So we envision a pedestrian bridge over the freeway to connect the east side, lower east side communities to the beach. It's part of our pedestrian master plan currently, and it would really help remove the freeway as a barrier for those communities to access the beach and other amenities south of the freeway.
After a decade of deferred maintenance due to recession, the streets and sidewalks of Santa Barbara are making a comeback, one that should thrill drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike.
To find out more about these and other transportation projects, go to santabarbaraca.gov and type in public improvements in the search window. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
In a disaster, it's not just your needs you have to consider. All members of your family have to be ready. Don't forget the pets.
Welcome back. Renovation of the 90-year-old Cabrillo Pavilion is underway. The project will preserve this iconic building's historical integrity while creating a modern community recreation and social center that is safe and accessible for all to enjoy for decades to come.
Nearly 100 years old, the Cabrillo Pavilion has lived up to David Gray's vision of being a place for the community to meet, celebrate, and recreate. This renovation project will make the pavilion accessible for everyone while modernizing the amenities and honoring the structure's historical significance to the community.
In doing the renovation, we're honoring that historical significance. So when you do go to the building, it will look a lot like it did before. It'll only look better, it'll look upgraded.
But upgrading a historical building is no small feat. It has to look like it's always been there.
The overall goal or idea was to make it fully accessible for today's codes while integrating it with the building as if they'd always been here.
Building was built in 1926 and we have the original drawing, so we really had a base of what we wanted it to go back to, but it has to meet the needs of the community. It's going to serve the community in an amazing capacity. So to design that so it was more compatible with the original 1926 architecture was the biggest challenge that I saw.
Santa Barbara is full of historical structures that have played significant roles in our community. But the pavilion is different, not only because of what it provides, but because of where it's located.
It's true. I mean, the uniqueness of this facility can't be underestimated. You couldn't build a building like this on the beachfront anywhere in California today. We're very lucky that we have what we have.
Community support of the fundraising campaign for the Cabrillo Pavilion is a critical part of this project. To find ways to give, naming opportunities, or to learn more about the project, visit cabrillopavilion.org. Every detail from the floor plan to the tiles on the roof are being looked at with care.
Taking down each red clay tile and looking at it to ones that we can save and where we're going to put the originals so that they can be like the most prominent. They're so fragile and the mortar can break, but we're saving as many as we can and putting them on pallets. You see them up on the roof, but that look takes such care to get it. It's a real beautiful process, actually.
In keeping to the envelope of the building, city staff say one of the greatest achievements made during the renovation was installing an elevator in the building.
So now we'll have this connection, this elevator, and typically there is some type of element that pops out of the roof. We were able to use the high ceilings and hide the elevator within existing mezzanine and attic space. I think we'll make it feel like it's always been here.
On the Cabrillo Boulevard side of the pavilion, crews are hard at work removing outdated access ramps and installing new symmetrical ramps that meet today's ADA standards.
We've created a more symmetrical feel with our accessibility ramping, and also created a entry terrace or patio at the front that is accessible and gives you a little bit more room to meet and greet people.
Santa Barbara is known for its picturesque ocean views and perfect weather, and with these new improvements, even someone with a wheelchair or a walker can experience the ocean view from the sand.
We'll also have this new addition, which is a boardwalk, a wood boardwalk 8 feet wide that goes 150 feet out to the sand, and I'll have a tee that's about 50 feet. So you'll be able, even if you're challenged with your mobility, you'll be able to get out there and really get a sense of what the ocean is like.
The Cabrillo Pavilion has been the center for recreation, beach life, and special moments for the community. And after this renovation, it will be for future generations to come.
To learn more about the Cabrillo Pavilion renovation project, visit cabrillopavilion.org. To conclude our series on the city's watersheds, we'll turn our attention to Laguna Creek. It's the most urbanized watershed and also the one with the most history. City TV's Chris Bell has the story.
The Laguna watershed has played an important role in Santa Barbara for millennia. The low-lying area at the base of the watershed was called the estero, or estuary, by early Spanish settlers. This estuary was a prime source of food for residents back to the native Chumash. As Santa Barbara grew, this swampy area was even used as a dump. But the low-lying estero was prone to flooding, and over time, the watershed's land became valued more for development than for food or waste disposal. Gates and pumps were installed at the creek mouth to cut off the tidal influence, and much of the rest of the watershed was put in pipes.
You can't build a house on top of a creek, or it takes a lot of engineering to do so, so it's a lot easier to just get that land, cover it with a pipe, and you can build things on top of it, like streets, houses.
The result of all the ensuing development and piping is a nearly invisible watershed.
Laguna watershed is by far our most developed watershed in the city. And there are parts of other watersheds, like Mission Creek, for example, that have pockets that are just as developed. But the entire Laguna watershed is highly paved, highly urbanized. Also with Laguna Channel watershed, there's just such a short section of natural or semi-natural creek channel. Almost the entire watershed and the runoff and all of the former drainages are piped underground, and so almost the entire network is within the storm drains. And so what we get with is during a rain event, there's no dilution with clean water from the upper watershed. And so it just creates a really different situation in the creek.
Without that dilution, when it rains, runoff pollution is more concentrated as it's conveyed on the impervious backs of streets and sidewalks into all those pipes leading directly to the ocean.
And what we find when we examine the results from all of our watershed testing is that Laguna watershed and Laguna Channel do have the highest concentrations of pollutants during storm events, during dry periods, and in the sediments. This really impacts the organisms, the aquatic organisms that are living in the creek, because they're exposed to higher concentrations, these pulses during storm events that are known to be really hard on aquatic organisms.
You have a lot of waste that gets deposited on the surfaces, like animal waste, people waste, litter, even the things we built, asphalt shingles, asphalt roads. And so a lot of pollutants are associated with this impervious area that we've built up in the watershed.
To demonstrate the benefits of permeability and chip away at the pollution problems associated with impervious surfaces, in 2011 the Creeks Division began installing permeable paver projects around the city. The projects included parking lots, sidewalks, even an alley. But the largest and most ambitious undertaking occurred in the Laguna watershed, with the conversion of road and sidewalks of 2 blocks of Quarantina Street in 2016.
So we are effectively letting that water that used to fall under the ground and soak in do that again, while still being able to use the street as a street, and sidewalks as sidewalks, driveways as driveways, etc. That allows for the treatment of that water through those bioprocesses. It allows for raising of the ground table, so that plants can use it, so that the water is available for creek creek flows during the dry season.
The demonstration projects coincided with new state and federal regulations requiring all new development to handle stormwater differently than in the past. To meet the new standards, the city's stormwater management program lays out best management practices for development that is tiered according to a project's size and scope.
Generally, the highest tier, you're basically required to capture and retain and treat the volume of water from a 1-inch storm in 24 hours. So that's what we really designed these projects around. As more and more parcels are built to accommodate that 1-inch and 24-hour storm, then you get a cumulative effect of improving water quality in the entire watershed.
And while most of the Laguna watershed is built out, on occasion there are opportunities to restore areas to conditions closer to what they would be naturally. Take, for instance, this place, next to El Estero Wastewater Treatment Plant, affectionately known as Turtle Park.
This is a parcel that has been recently restored to improve wetland function and also habitat for the southwestern pond turtle. The project came about when the city acquired the property in 1999, and with the idea that the city would use this as part of the El Estero operations. However, wetlands were discovered on site, and the city has now restored this site, all 1.19 acres of wetland habitat.
Right next to the Turtle Park site, the Parker Waterfront Hotel development is doing a similar project, remediating soil contamination and restoring habitat.
The idea is to have a contiguous kind of restoration site. So that's one thing that we have done, is work with them together to make sure that the two sites are compatible habitat-wise. This would be, once it's fully restored, an ideal habitat for southwestern pond turtle, where they could migrate up the corridor and come back and forth.
Experts say the future of built-out, highly urbanized watersheds like the Laguna watershed depends upon projects like these that return permeability and restore habitat one parcel at a time.
Slowly over time, we will be reducing the runoff rates, and we will be reducing the pollutant loads coming off of this watershed into Laguna Channel. It is a slow process, but I think in 50 years, when we see that, as soon as it starts raining, the gutters are almost full, I think that will change during small to medium rainstorms.
To learn more about our watersheds and how you can help improve creek and ocean water quality, visit sbcreeks.com. In May of 2017, the city desalination plant was reactivated and began producing water. The city recently held an open house at the plant, giving Santa Barbara residents an up-close and personal look at this important water supply.
Santa Barbara is currently entering its 8th year of drought, the most severe in recorded history. Due to the lack of rain, residents are encouraged to be water-wise and save water wherever possible.
Living with less water is our new normal, and the Santa Barbara community has embraced conservation as a way of life.
Luckily, Santa Barbara had a water supply solution to help combat the drought. The Charles E. Meyer Desalination Plant was initially built in 1992 in response to a drought that occurred in the late 1980s and early 1990s. However, the plant was put in standby mode after 5 months of operation due to abundant rainfall that filled our reservoirs. The facility lay in waiting until 2015, when the City Council voted to reactivate it. After 2 years of extensive upgrades, the plant began producing water for city water customers.
I'd also like to pay a tribute to our colleagues from almost 30 years ago who had the foresight to build this first plant. Without their work, we would not be able to quickly and effectively deliver this extraordinary facility to our community.
Currently, the plant produces about 3 million gallons a day, which is about 30% of the city's water demand. In addition to providing essential drinking water, this facility reflects the city's commitment to sustainability, using 40% less energy than the original plant and incorporating design changes to protect marine life. The plant is only one of 2 large-capacity desalination plants operated on the West Coast, which has made it a curiosity for residents about how it all works.
I have a degree in engineering and kind of has to do with treatment, groundwater, and surface water treatment and things like that. So I wanted to check it out. Plus, we're drinking the water, so I want to see how it's made.
The city organized a public open house on Saturday, August 18th, to give residents a chance to tour the facility, learn about water conservation, and even sample the water.
It's delicious.
Yes, it's right here and it's very good. No.
Due to the high demand to see this water-producing wonder, future tours are currently being planned. The plant serves an important role in providing a local, drought-proof supply for Santa Barbara during a time when water is scarce. It also serves as a reminder that the drought is not over, and water conservation from our community remains critical to secure our water supplies.
It's really going to help the community understand ways to save water, and also help the community understand that even though we do have desalinated water now available to us, we still have to realize that we need to conserve water.
For residents who are unable to attend the open house, the Water Resources Division will begin holding regularly scheduled tours of the plant this fall. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, you can give us a call at 805-564-5311. If you missed something, not to worry, you can watch the show online at santabarbaraca.gov/citytv. I'm your host, Becky Davis. Remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.